Folks, today on the Stoney Ridge Farm, we're going to teach you how to intensively mob graze your cattle on your property. It's going to be an awesome time. We're going to learn a whole lot together, and I hope you guys enjoy. Right, girls? Woo! See y'all. Good stuff.
I ain't afraid of work. I ain't afraid of play. I ain't afraid to get the job done and do it my own damn way. I ain't afraid of life, times like this. If you mess with my freedom, I'll tell you just what you can kiss. That's right.
All right, folks, welcome to the Stoney Ridge Farm. All around us is 150 acres of first-generation farm. Believe it or not, the beautiful green that you see right here was just brown dirt not more than 5 or 6 years ago. This was all overgrown in brush, and now it's awesome, flourishing pastures here for the farm. So if you're considering trying to start a farm, let this be the glimmer of hope that you need. You can build a farm for sure. Now, this is a regenerative farm. Let's talk about that really quickly. A regenerative farm, meaning that we are regenerating the soil. So it all starts, first of all, in the soil, okay? And that's why we're moving, we're mobbing, and we're mowing here on the Stoney Ridge. We're mimicking what the bison herds did for years and years, for thousands of years, if not millions of years, out on the Great Plains states and the mountain states out west, and even here on the East Coast. So you think about this, you look at deer, you look at elk, you look at moose, stuff like that. They're browsers. In other words, they'll browse and they'll cruise over several miles per day. The cows are mobbers. In other words, they mob together in a herd, and that herd is what we want to move throughout our land. Again, just like the bison or the buffalo on the Great Plains. If you're doing this over in England, over the pond somewhere, or even Australia or somewhere like that, this also applies to there too. So what we're doing is we're moving our cows to a different 1 to 2 acre plot of land, and we're letting them graze that down for a day, okay? It's just that simple. However, the technology wasn't available to do this up until probably the last 20 years or so. We've got awesome stuff we're going to show you here today. All the fencing products came from Farm Fence Solutions. They aren't a sponsor, they're a friend of the channel. Just great people. Luke and Leslie own Farm Fence Solutions. They are just great people, and they are doing wonders for the agricultural fencing world for sure. So we're going to show you some of the stuff we're using here. We're actually going to install a mirror fount waterer, and we're going to move the cows. We might move the cows first because, man, they might get just a little bit annoying, but this is great food for thought. If you guys want to skip ahead, I'll put chapters in here where you can skip ahead just to see what we've got, but we're going to have about a 20-minute video here, and we're all going to learn a little bit about the kinds of posts I use, the kinds of wire that I use, and every single facet of this intensive grazing program, even down to a map of the farm that I made so I could tell exactly how I wanted to graze my animals. We need to know a little bit about what we're using out here, and you'll see 2 types of posts. We're standing right where the waterer system is going to be, and I'm going to install that in just a second. You'll get a tidbit of what that is. This is a mirror fount waterer. So what I have here is a line. You can probably see a line going this way and another line going out that way. Those are set up with poly braid wire, and I'll show you that in a second, and step-in posts, similar to these step-in posts. This is a strain right step-in post, and this is a strain right step-in post. I do prefer this type of step-in post, and Strain Right is a company out of New Zealand. If there was an American company making this product, then I'd be using an American company, and I don't understand why there isn't. So I know a lot of folks are saying, why don't you buy American? Well, it's not available. It's just simply not available. So again, these are from Farm Fence Solutions. This is a strain right step-in post right here. All you do is just simply mash it down in the ground. This is a strain right step-in post too. Here's why I like the metal ones, and this is called a pigtail. I like the short pigtail ones versus these plastic ones, and I'll show you exactly why. Look at this, okay? These plastic posts don't hold up as good as the metal ones. You can see this one is bent. It's become misshapen because the wire has pulled right here. So I can straighten it out, but it takes a little bit of time. I'll just be holding it like this and straightening it out. So I don't have that problem when I use a metal pigtail type step-in post. Now you can make your own step-in post if you'd like to make them. You can just take rebar, but I'm finding that it's cheaper and easier just to go ahead and buy the strain right post. This is a lifetime purchase here, guys. Absolutely a lifetime purchase. Heavy duty plastic right here on the end. It's UV resistant. It's gonna work. It's gonna last. Where these posts will not last a lifetime. They will eventually break, but they're better than the posts you get at your local farm store. So if you go into your local farm store and you buy those garbage cheap posts, what you're gonna find is when you bend those, when you bend them back in place, they're just gonna snap. They dry rot and they snap. These have been out in the field for 4 years and they still look as good as new. So very, very happy with them. They just get misshapen sometimes. So let's kind of walk over here and we'll talk about what we've got. So we've got about an 1.5 acre paddock right here, about an 1.5 acre paddock right here, and another 1.5 acre paddock right here, and another one behind us, okay? So this is what we would call the pizza style wedge pattern, okay? I'm standing on the concrete block where my mirror fount waterer is gonna go, and I will let the cows in here before I install that waterer. They won't bother me or anything, and then I'll fence off to the waterer. So you've got a little bit of food for thought to think about here as it pertains to how the cows access the water. In other words, they'll be in this section and they'll have access to both holes in the waterer right here. They'll be in this section, then we'll move them to that section. So we've got to rearrange our wires right here. And the way that I do that is typically by having 4 of those pigtail type step-in posts right around the water tank here, and I have a little bit of slack left in my line. Now this line right here, the fence charger that I use, will power up to a 5-mile section of fence wire. So the wire that we use is called poly braid. Poly braid is different than poly wire. Poly braid is a thicker type wire. It's braided. Let me pick some up right here. So this poly braid right here, that's what it is. It's simply a rope that stretches with a conductive material inside of it, and this one happens to have aluminum conductive material inside of it, and some fence wire has stainless conductive material. Aluminum conducts electricity a little bit better than steel, so something to know. It conducts heat, it conducts electricity better. This is a strain right geared reel, and you'll see me using this here in just a second because we're going to run a little bit of this poly wire. This strain right geared reel, again from Farm Fence Solutions, does a fantastic job. I recommend the geared reel over a non-geared reel. It's easier to roll up, take down, and put up. And oftentimes we'll be putting this fence up and taking it down and putting it up and taking it down. It's just part of regenerative farming, and it's part of this mob grazing outfit that we have going on here on the farm. So without further ado, I'm gonna pull this wire tight, and you can see here, I'll show you. You'll pull that wire tight, it'll raise up all the way out through there, and then we'll pull this one tight right here. We're gonna go ahead and move the cows into this section, and there's just nothing more fun than watching how happy these cows are when they first come into a new section of pasture. It's really awesome. And we don't want them to graze this all the way down to the nub, okay? That's part of this intensive grazing program. We leave them out here just long enough for them to knock the tops out of everything, and what we do by mob grazing them is we move them onto a smaller piece of land. When we move them onto this smaller piece of land right here, it gives the cows more motivation to eat the plants that are less desirable. In other words, they won't just pick through and get the best out of it and move on. They'll make their way through, they'll get the best, their favorite munchies, then they'll move back through and they'll get some other stuff, and they consume what we would consider weeds or multi-species pasture, just like this. And there's clover, there's orchard grass, there's fescue, there's wild grass, there's just all sorts of stuff. There's Cerisi lespedeza, there's tons of stuff, even a little bit of milkweed, and a little bit of milkweed won't hurt your cows. It doesn't hurt my cows anyway, so maybe they have tough stomachs. So let's get out here. We're gonna go down. The cows are in this paddock. We're gonna move them across, and we're gonna put them in here. It rained last night, so you'll probably see a little bit of mud. We try to avoid tearing up the land in any mud that we possibly can. But the one thing about the mud that these cows are creating, it's full of nutrients. It's full of manure, bacteria, and urine, and and that's gonna feed the land because that manure has grass seed in it too. All of this has had no fertilizer on it in 5 years, guys. 5 years, no fertilizer. Simply rolling out hay bales out here on the land and feeding the land with the cow's manure and urine, correcting the pH with the cow's manure and urine. It works, it really does. Let's go move them. As you guys can see, cows like mud. They like to make a mud hole. It's frustrating for sure. I probably could have only put them out here for 12 hours on this section of land, but you can still see there's plenty of grass left here. So we're not trying to allow the cows to mow it down to this high, okay? We want them to mow it down, we want them to knock the tops out and then move on, okay? We want to keep that grass in a vigorous growing cycle. Now we've got to think about this. There are several cycles of grass growth, guys, and those cycles of grass growth dictate how fast and vigorous the grass will grow. So we want to keep the grass in the teenage growth cycle. In other words, during its growth spurt. And that comes right before the grass shoots up this seed head right here that you see. So if we let it go and we let the grass grow up and the seed head grows up and falls over and the stem turns brown, we've waited too long. That's sweet, sugary. So we're gonna open up this little section. We're gonna bring the cows right up through here and right through that gate. All I'm doing is tightening the fence up real quick here, guys. So make sure nice and snug for the cows. You don't want it to be drooping, but a little bit of droop is okay. You can see this is the trench and it's settled just a little bit. Just installed the water systems here on the farm. Water system is the key to every bit of this. Just pull tight. Right there. Guys, this is the IntelliShock 120 fence charger right here, and this is what I use to move the cows. Basically all we do, we have a couple alligator clips that clip on here, and that's it. So I use this as the ground, and then I clip to my wire. Pretty simple, about as simple, about as simple as it gets. We got fussy cows, we gotta get them moved. Why you guys so fussy? Why are you so fussy? What are you so fussy for? So got the girls all mobbed up here next to me, and that boy, that's Cody. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna unhook our fence wire. The power's off of this. We'll just take that loop off, and that's exactly how I do this. Right through the fence, that's insulated, good to go. So take that off. We're gonna open this up and let the girls come on through. Come on, girls. Basically, I'm just gonna drop this for now, and the cows will follow me right through to the next paddock. Watch how excited they get when they get out here on this new grass. Woo! Come on! This is what they're looking for. They're all looking over the fence like, oh man, I'm hungry. Woo! Come on, girls. Your cows will eventually learn to follow you everywhere you go. So when you show up to the pasture, that means we're moving and that means we're eating. Come on, girls. Fresh grass. Yeah. All right. You'll notice there's some flies on the cows. The flies are not a problem, guys. The flies are only a problem if they cause health problems, and they don't. And as we continue to move these cows, they move away from their manure, and thus less flies. Isn't that awesome how they just follow? The cows get trained to this, and they expect this. Every day they expect this. The last one that always comes through is Tammy, our donkey, and she is our guard donkey. Now we'll close the gate, and the cows will be on this paddock for 24 hours, and then they'll move down to the next one. All right, guys, we're gonna get you a cool time lapse. You'll see the cows move through the field, and they'll just do circles. They just continue to do circles as they graze down this grass. So we've got a step-in post right here, and we also have a quick connector right here. That's what you hang it on the fence with, or we make a loop and we loop right around that. And that'll serve as our gate when we get ready to move our cows, okay? So that's how that works. This is the geared reel. I'm gonna show you a little bit about this. So this is strain right geared reel right here. Basically what it means by geared is when I roll it in, it rolls in faster. So that's what it's all about. It's about saving time and saving you some work. So the geared reel, basically all we're gonna do is we're gonna zip right up this line of fence posts. Now there's a magic number between your fence posts. That magic number is 13 steps in my world. So about 13 steps between posts, and you wanna post on every high spot and every low spot. And you'll get this figured out, I promise. As time goes on, you'll learn it a whole lot. So I'm gonna take off out through here, and we're gonna go ahead and start instilling these on the post. Pretty simple. I'll get you a little detail of how they attach to the post. Come through here with our geared reel. Simply, all we do is press it right down in that little loop, and then we continue on. This takes literally 10 minutes to make a paddock. It's so simple, guys. And to move the cows, I know folks think, man, moving those cows twice a day or once a day, man, that's too much work. You saw how long it took. It only takes 3 or 4 minutes to do this every single day. Super simple. Okay, this is the point. Take a second. I'm gonna pop up a map of this side of the farm, and you'll see the lines that are blue are the polywire lines. The little dots are where the waterers are. So there are 3 waterers in this particular pasture and 2 waterers in the pasture we just moved the cows off of. Now we're gonna install this mirror fount waterer. So the final step in the mirror fount waterer install is to use this tool, and it's about 6 feet long. This is a valve shut-off tool right here. Had to order an extra long one. The valve that's in the ground here is called a curb stop valve, which means all the water in this pipe that I just installed falls down and drains out of the pipe so that we don't have to worry about it freezing in the wintertime. This is the mirror fount cattle watering system, and right here you'll see a blue ball float up, and you'll see another blue ball float up right there. I've got it in training mode right now so the little calves can get their heads down in here and drink. When you've got small calves, you need to remove this. There will be a link at the end of this video to a full mirror fount install, as well as one of our tire water tanks here on the farm. I think you'll really like it. Let's crank the water on here. Yahoo! That's the most difficult part of installing a mirror fount is turning it on and off. With that valve way down in there, you're just going in the blind. So you just start tapping on the ground until you feel something solid hit. And the cows will be over here drinking in just a second. So let's talk about this design here, and you can see I've got a few trenches that are open. There's still pipe that needs to be ran down to here, but supplies are very short right now. That's another pipe that needs to run down. There's a waterer down there, and there's a waterer right down there. So that will split the rest of the pastures. And we're in about 46 acres right here total, guys. One side is about 25-ish acres, and the other side is about whatever the math works out, a little over 20 acres. This is a mirror fount water. Again, it's a frost-free water. If you live in a really, really cold area, they make a heater for this critter. This is the training mode, so the little calves can get in there. If you've got really, really small calves, you can remove this entire piece right here. And this ball is held behind a bolt right there, so they can get their heads in there. This is what the cows push down to drink. They just take their nose and push down to drink it. And I think we've got our first contestant right here. This is Mona. Come on, Mona. Now, the nature of cows, if you guys know cows, when one comes, all of them are gonna come. But the reason the waterer is positioned the way it is because we want the cattle waterer to be within 800 feet of the cows all the time. And that will help prevent what we call cow trails, meaning trails running across the farm for all the cows to go drink. Now, what we call Mob drinking is when everybody comes to the water at the same time and the last cows don't get enough water for optimum growth. So that's why the science behind the 400 to 800 foot mark for getting these cows water. Cool? And they're ready to drink. Check them out. We'll start pushing and shoving a little bit here, but that's normal. It's just cow behavior. You can see a lot of flies, guys. The flies are here because it's been raining like crazy and they've been over in a mud hole right there. But once we get them out moving, boom, 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 to different paddocks, that'll be it. There'll be no more flies like that. Now, what I've got to do, and now you understand hopefully, and again, I'll pop up the diagram right now of this pasture that we're standing in, and you see the dots. The dots are where water tanks are, and the blue lines, the dotted lines, are where the poly wires ran. So in other words, everything is circular around the water tank here. And you can see the numbers in there are days. So each day they get a new piece of grass, or each 12-hour shift, basically, they get a new section of grass and then they'll be moved on. The way I have this side of the farm set up, I believe is set for 31 days. So the grass has full time to recover all the way through as they rotate back through this side of the farm. Really, really cool operation. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please post them down there in the comments section. That's what I do for my intensive grazing operation here on the Stoney Ridge Farm. It's not really intensive, but it is moving your animals. And again, what we're doing is mimicking. We're mimicking the Serengeti. We're mimicking what the bison did back in, for centuries back in the day. So we're moving, we're mobbing, and we're mowing. Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot. A big shout out to my friend Greg Judy. He's got a great channel, guys. If you haven't seen Greg Judy's channel, check it out. It's super cool, great channel. I'll post a link somewhere around here so you can go check him out. Greg has been instrumental in teaching me a lot of this stuff, and also Joel Salatin over at Polyface Farm, Gabe Brown, lots of great people involved in teaching mob grazing and teaching no-till and teaching how to farm efficiently and effectively without over-medicating your animals. And that's what this is all about. Moving, mobbing, mowing, and staying away from giving our animals pills that we wouldn't take. So why would we eat the beef that comes from these animals that's taking this medication? It's a bad thing. Think about it. Thanks, guys. Be sure you pound that like button. We'll see you next time on the Stoney Ridge Farm. Woo!
Come on down to the Stoney Ridge, bring your wife.